Okay. Welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. Today we will be finishing up the all-in-one Star Jumper. I call it the Star Jumper because when it's done it should be able to get anywhere in the solar system on its own power. It has built-in hidden engines along with landing gear that is out of sight and out of mind. Let's see. So far we have tested its ability to fly and land. It seems to fly and land properly, but coming back down it does start to rotate kind of out of control. So we might have to work on fixing that. MechJeb is really not much of a help when it comes to this particular situation. So let's go ahead and scrap that for now. We might have to make it just a little bit bigger. That's the problem. This is scalable, but if we scale everything, it could get a little weird. Because everything probably won't scale to be the exact same size it needs to be. Yeah, so that's out of the question then. Let's go ahead and take the legs off for a moment to realign this. Now, let's go ahead and just restart the particular piece that fits on it. Let's see. I wanted to use something bigger like this, but that would require me having to use a bigger tank setup, which I think could be possible. So let's see what we have in the range of bigger tanks. It's a small tank. It's a small tank. Should be a big tank. Yeah, that's a big tank. And I found out how these things actually work. Somebody told me in one of my last streams that I was like, well, I don't know how this thing attaches because you attach it, but like, oh, and it always offsets. It turns out you have to have a big enough container for it to actually slip into. And I was like, hey. Because apparently the fuel tanks can fit inside these, and these go towards the back of the ship, which gave me the design idea for this particular, I don't know what you want to call it, ship, pod, lander. Can't really do that. Let's go ahead and reroute that back to this. Okay, the tank is the basis. This is the landing gear, so let's go ahead and put the gear back on. There we go. Now the question is, will this particular increase in size still allow us to do what we want to do? Because that's already 40 tons. Let's see, there is an adapter. Need to change that hotkey. Let's see. If you put enough engines on it, it should go, but why bother putting enough on it when, well, I have plenty of large-sized, powerful engines. Now the problem is getting them to fit where I want them to fit. It's a bit small. And go something bigger. I know there's a bigger one. This. that's still small. Okay, maybe I might not have the adapter I'm looking for. Or do they not make them this big? I know the Rhino would fit on the bottom of this tank, but that's way too long. That actually might do it, because ain't that the size of the standard engine? Look. Yeah, that's the standard size. Okay, that should do it. And it's a low profile too. Let's go ahead and put this. Now we just need some low profile engines. How low profile is this? Yeah, it's about where we want it. We don't want it to extend past the metal plate here because of suspension travel. But in doing so, you still need an engine that's capable of lifting. I'm trying to keep it under 81, roughly. A bit larger. That'll actually work just perfectly. And these things are pretty beefy in and of themselves. I mean, they do 1,000 base with 1,200 in atmosphere, so they'll get the job done if you put 7 or 8 of them down there like it says. Let's see, that's 6. That could leave me something a little bit less powerful for like landing. But what? Considering this thing weighs as much as it does, gonna want something pretty good size down there. Just go ahead and use 7 of them for now. We can adjust one of them to be less powerful, I guess. There we go. There's all 7. Question is, what size pod can we put on this thing, considering the size of this thing is now, like, huge. That in and of itself is a crew cabin, but we need an actual pod. I downloaded a mod for like a bunch of different probes and pods and stuff, but I've yet to be able to actually use some of these because they're just so big. I mean, that one in and of itself would work for the top, but from the looks of it, it's meant to be detachable because it has the heat shield. And that's not going to work. But I mean, we could slap a probe core or something up there and make it into like a reconnaissance, like science experiment. But that really wouldn't do too well. I mean, this one right here actually makes a great fit for what we got. But that doesn't leave much space. Come on, give me the labs. Might be easier to just sort it by lab one of these days. I got so many different mods for that. Actually, I might not have the 3rd one installed. Okay, I might not have it, my bad. Something. Yeah, that's way too big. this thing do it? I don't know if this is a science lab that'll actually work. Go ahead and put it on here, I guess. Okay, pushing 62. This doesn't leave us much internal space to actually like squeeze in drills and other sort of things. Utilities. What are we looking at? Let's actually reach. Okay, so that should do. I wasn't too sure if this thing was long enough. Okay, so this will do. Problem is where can we put it? I think, you know, this side. Okay. One drill should work if and in the event we find some ore. Now the problem is with the ore, we actually have to still input one of these things to convert it. And they're both pretty good size. I think I have a mod that gives me a smaller one of those. I might. Is the right solar panel? Might do. I need a few of them actually, but still. So I could squeeze a few things in right there. Just gotta keep this stuff out of the way. So that one, go ahead and use 2 or 3 more of these. It's gonna need pretty much a lot of power if I understand how these drills work. Surprisingly, I really don't. Never could fully effectively get them to work. Okay, now assuming these things actually have motion. Think. Oh yeah, tracking speed. Okay, so they do move. This one's a lot bigger. I think. How big is it? Oh yeah, that's pretty big. Go ahead and put something that big, probably over the other side. Like there maybe. No, that won't. Lucky we could slip it like down under this area so that whenever it expands, yes, because it will miss the particular area. Okay, so we'll work on the larger solar panels after the fact. These should produce enough to hold the power for this. Now we need to figure out where we can actually stick the ore and the converter, which, if we're lucky, we can attach the two together. and like part clip it inside this jumbo tank. And I tried that last time and it worked, but I had a problem with it, like not being able to click it to see how full it is or anything. I mean, we could always stick something like this inside somewhere. I mean, this thing's like part everything. The problem is they're a bit big. That right there would pretty much fit inside this by itself. You can't fit it in there because it expands. I don't know what it is about drills on these sides of these Gemini things, but anything that tries to stick out through it from the inside out tends to like just cause it to explode. Then again, it's a particularly weak part in general because it can only withstand like 12 to 15, I guess you can call it kilometers or whatever per hour. Let's see. Might be able to actually make this a bit taller actually. Let's go ahead and move this down here. Let's move this up a tank. I mean, taller wouldn't hurt, but I'd like it to stay compact. So we'll see what we can do with a small tank, like, not really tank, but more like crew compartments. What would they be, like structural? Like a cargo bay kind of aspect. Engine mounts, we need cargo bay like stuff, or payloads maybe. We need something that's about, what's that, 3.75? Uncompressed cargo segment, what is that supposed to do? So you just open it up, yeah. That might actually house the stuff we need. Problem is, big enough. No, those are way too big. Let's go with the smaller one. Yeah, we can fit a smaller one in there. Just need to clamp in some particular ore tanks. I mean, it doesn't have to hold a lot, because it'll primarily be processed as soon as it comes in. Now, the good thing about this thing being inside this is whenever I clip it through the other part, it shouldn't really have any particular effects. Now, if we're lucky though, this electrical. We will need some extra power. No real space to put that though. I guess we could line the inside of this with batteries maybe. Somewhere. There we go. These are 600 a piece. So that should give us enough to relatively work during the day. You won't be working at night with only 600 though. Do we have any bigger batteries? Actually, yes we do. Should be able to squeeze it in between these two pieces. Okay, Okay, that takes care of that. Now we need to move this down. Now that that's done, we need to move this back up. Uh-oh. Don't want to attach. Oh wait, it's trying to attach multiples. That might explain it. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and give this a test hit and see if we can actually get this to work. Oh, crap, you know what I did? I forgot to set the tool parts. Up you go. Action. Let's see. I should do it actually. Let's go ahead and put this back down. If we're lucky, that won't cause any issues. We're about to find out. I forget to keep throwing my people inside. Fly it. Let's try this. Now, having a full tank inside of a tank shouldn't really be an issue, but we're about to find out. The solar panels seem to work. Let's go ahead and retract those real quick. Okay, so apparently this lab will do everything we need it to, unless that's actually what's attached to the bottom of it. Okay, apparently that science lab will actually do the job of everything we just put down there. Now let's go ahead and cut the thrusters to 0, activate them. Now considering each one of these puts out 1,000, you're looking at 7,000, I guess, kilonewtons. And with just barely 100 on all engines, 700 will lift off. That is good to know. Okay, wrong way, wrong way. Okay, good to know, good to know. We have enough engine power to lift off with just barely touching it, which means we should be able to just get close to anywhere we need to be, which means I can actually unclip the thingy-majigger that's actually stuck down there. Back to moving. It's down. Clip. You. So I won't actually need this apparently. because apparently that piece does everything I just set that up to do, which is actually a pretty good thing. Go. Not quite. We want this to be here. We still need to build the ladder section right here, so hopefully we can get that set up too. Oh, come on. Oh wait, yeah, that is connected, isn't it? Yeah, the ladders come down the side right there. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and try that one more time to double check that wasn't just a part glitch, because both those pieces were clipped together. So if this piece still does that... Oh, hello. I had to make it bigger, so hopefully this works. Status locked, antenna. That's weird. Oh wait, I don't have any crew, that's why. Got a little sidetrack there, I guess. Okay, let's go ahead and throw some crew up in this thing. We'll put Jeb to fly. Put his little girlfriend in there. Put these two guys in the science lab, and hopefully that should be able to activate all this stuff. Yep, there it is. Okay, so yeah, this thing actually has its own built-in fuel system generator, power cell for the look of it. That makes my job so much easier. Now technically this thing should still be able to be deployed. And it has plenty of travel, so we're still good on that point. Let's go ahead and retract the drill. Retract these panels. See if this thing's still possibly capable of getting into orbit. Okay. Get some gas. Whoop, too much. Got a bit of a roll to it. Come on, up we go. Yeah, that drill does weigh a bit probably, so I'll need to even it out with some stuff on the other side. Okay, so yeah, it looks like it should still be good. Now we just need to get a bit of fuel conversion going on before we actually get where we're going. Or we could just strap something to the bottom of this thing and boost it into orbit just a little bit. Let's see, let's go ahead and put the solar panels on a toggle because this is getting kind of ridiculous having to retract them every time we launch. Toggle solars. Does the drill come with anything specific? Oh yeah, actually it does. We'll worry about that later. Okay, now we have all of this particularly set up. We need to rotate this particular part up here because it's in line with the legs, and we don't want it with the legs, we want it separate. Oh, now we need landers, which I believe is underground. Actually, no, they were under structure. I don't know, I don't really use ladders much, I just EVA back into the dang thing. Let's see, what about it? That should work. Okay, now a couple of these things. Okay, now that we've officially made it twice the size of the original one, it has way more thrust than it needs, but it doesn't quite have enough gas. That is a bit of a dilemma. Down. To reroute this back to the pod. I think there is another pod about this size that we can use to extend the fuel capacity just a little. It's small. See, we might be able to turn this into a different type of gas pod. No, we cannot. Okay. Now the engines stick out the bottom. It's not what I needed it to do, though. Let's go ahead and just put on a little bit more landing action. Now, if we're lucky, that should be enough to get the job done. My only concern is the drill actually going to be able to send the ore to that, considering that's technically an external piece. Hello. Welcome to the live stream. I am trying to figure out how to get an all-in-one lander together / ship, but it's not quite coming too well. Track these ladders. Probably going to want their own particular key group for that, because that's going to be a bit tedious having to retract those when it's dark out. Okay, number 4. Apparently they're close to the same thing. Okay, these are the solar panels. And I don't know, I want like a all-in-one kind of puddle jumping style ship. I mean, I could do it without having to make it super huge. I could lose the drill and the solar panels by putting in the parts from LBSI, but a lot of people consider those cheaty. And I mean, I don't see a problem with just smacking one of these things on the side of this thing. Generates 180 fuel and oxidizer, a little bit of monopropellant. I can slap on one of these for electrical charge, which I'd probably need the bigger one. Using both of these, it would totally work. Well, true. There is room for 7 engines down here, and each one of these things output almost 12. I could remove the center one for a nuclear engine, I guess. Actually, I could remove 3 or 4 of them, probably. True. Never really thought of it that way. Let's see, which one though? Should we just go with the whole system in one, or? I want it to basically, hold on, let me just save this one. Basically, its job is to have the crew cabin. Then there's a small tank attached to that. We'll just go ahead and use this one for instance. And then we have the Gemini piece right here that wraps around the tank. That one's definitely way too small for the option we got going on here. Then the legs. Now I want the engine to be inside this particular area so that it doesn't like just slam down on the ground and take out the engine. But I don't want it to be like sticking way out of the top of this thing. Let's go ahead and actually use a decent sized tank for this. Like say this one. Which means an actual decent pod for this. I have way too many pods installed right now. Go ahead and just say this one. Put the pod, the engine, and then this thing onto this, but you don't want it all the way up there. You want it down here roughly. Yeah, no, I part clipped 7 of those together. This way the engine is basically out of the way. That one's way too big, but as long as you can get it to come in just above the metal piece right here, it'll be able to land without damaging the engine. But I guess doing it the way you just mentioned, it actually might work. The nuclear engine and the liquid fuel tank. I've never really used the nuclear engines too much. I guess I could try that. And no, I don't plan on going all that way. Let's see which engines are the nuclear engine. They're down here somewhere. Ain't they the nerve engines? So well, true efficiency is pretty decent. Without efficiency, you're just burning gas left and right. There it is, these ones. Should I use more than one? Because there are plenty of adapters. Is it a 4-piece? No, that's way too small. Oh, that's way too big. Okay, let me go back to the other one I already had going on, because that one should actually already have the piece we have attached. Did it not save it yet? It's okay. True. Okay, let's go ahead and take these ones off. Go to engines. I mean, 6 will probably be way too many for anything. And then I guess like a simple, let's see, just a simple regular engine for getting it into orbit. Because if I'm not mistaken, those things don't really work too well in atmosphere. now I just lost them again. Okay, here they are. Yeah. Okay, 6 is probably overkill. What do you think? Just one in the middle and then a couple of regular rockets around the outside? True. Okay, so let's go ahead and offset this to 2. One. Now, these things play nice when they're part clipped up into each other because those are a bit long for what we're trying to do. I'd need to at least cut that down to probably here. Even then, that's pushing it. Yeah, I made a run there with a air breathing style mod for a ship, and it did not like the atmosphere. Safe to say I didn't have enough oomph to get back up. Let's go ahead and try to part clip these in here real quick and see if that'll actually work or not. Just a hair more. True, the tank does have a bit of everything. Well, this particular engine right here might need the oxidizer. Pretty sure I can fix that though. Show you. Add. Should do it. Okay. Actually, I could just use a booster to push this thing out into space and then use the smaller nuclear engines for everything else. It seems like it should work. This already outputs power, so I won't need much generation for that. That actually seems like a good idea, so we'll go ahead and scrap that idea. Let's go with the third one just to keep it even. Probably not really fire it up, but just keep it on there nonetheless. Now that gives us 4 extra engine slots that we could use for something else. We could use actual boosters on that and use those for separation. Let's see, we need some decouplers. I don't know if this particular heavy design will actually work with boosters, because there's not much space for wings and other assorted stuff on something this large. Well, small but large, I guess. I want to say large, but it's actually quite small. Let's go ahead and retract these for the 4th time. They keep getting in the way. Okay, now engine-wise, should we use like medium size, or would we want to go something large like a thumper? What size is that? That's a pretty small one, actually. I think the big ones would be way too big. Let's see. Could go ahead and just smack them on there real quick and find out. I always have this problem. Never want to connect. Ah. It's the smaller ones. Maybe not. Medium-sized boosters attached. Come on. Oh yeah, it's aiming to be an all-in-one. We're about to actually test this thing out and see if we can get it to function. This particular test flight, I will go ahead and scrap the drill. I won't be needing the drill. Okay, let's save this. Double check our crew. Let's go ahead and put extra people in here. Something says this is probably going to fail epically. I should have used launch clamps. Okay, everything appears to be good. 4 boosters will ignite, then separate, then hopefully we're high enough for the nurse to actually kick in. Here we go. Not even big enough boosters. You need more power. And yeah, you need one scientist to run the science-y thingy right here. Because this thing has its own fuel generation. It's also a science lab. It's kind of OP. Okay, we need what? More power? Will everything firing at once actually work? No. Okay, so we're gonna need an external booster. Then again, I did not check the weight of this thing before we started it. That's why it's at 92. I need to find a way to shave off some pounds. Could use, what are those things called? Fuel tanks. Now this might be crazy, but bear with me. If we put, come on. Now if we put these fuel tanks here and we attach an extremely OP rocket to these, okay, let me see, something like this. Now this is where it's going to get a little crazy. I know what you're thinking. Those tanks do not have enough to get you where you're going. But I got one for you. The rapiers are pretty decent, but what is your take on the KE-7B scimitar? I like it over the rapiers because it just looks cooler in general. Let's smack one on here real quick. Tilt this thing over. Rapiers up a little bit. See, in comparison, the rapier has 4, and it's nice and small, but the scimitar has 6, looks a little cooler, and it already has spots where if you line up the air radial intakes, that it actually looks pretty decent along your rockets. Oh, that is true. You do kind of only play stock, don't you? I forgot about that. I mean, I'm a big fan of some of your work. I actually watch a couple of your videos whenever they come out. Pretty good stuff. Okay, got that. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, LBSI has these things. Put one of each of these on these. Now these things should be able to lift a pretty good bit, considering they do 1,000. There's 4 of them. That's about 4,400 kilonewtons of thrust. That'll get us up there. Then we can separate these off, and hopefully this will work. I mean, if these aren't enough thrust, the only other option is to jerry-rig a rhino to the bottom of this thing and pray. If you look in the description for this, I think, if it's there, it should have all of my mods listed. If not, I can go ahead and paste it in the chat, but it's, I think, 30-something mods in total. Okay, let's go ahead and start small with this, because I don't need this blowing up in my face. Yep, that will work. Okay, let's go ahead and revert this to launch so I can toggle the generators on. With the generators on, should be good. Generator. Should have put these on a hotkey, but my hotkeys are all messed up at the moment. Okay, with all the generators currently active, let's see. What does it take to get this thing off the ground? 29 times 4. So we'll go ahead and say 36912, approximately 1250 thrust to get this thing just to lift off. Considering these things have exceptionally more thrust than that. You know, if I remember correctly, I think I might have the SR-71 rendition that you built in my craft ship folder for the space plane hangar. We will check that out once this catastrophically fails. Then again, this might be a different install. I don't remember. Let's go ahead and get this into space. Yeah, you know, just jerry-rig a rhino. A couple adapters, flip it upside down, put on one of the bigger adapters, clip it over a bit to the side, and pray. I think Jeb prays every time we launch. Uh-oh, we have sparks. That can't be good. Looks kind of cool, though. That does look kind of cool. Okay, brute force your way into the atmosphere. The upper atmosphere. Come on. Now, about how high do I need to be for these nerve rockets to actually be at their most effectiveness? Actually, they're producing 60 right now, so that should be good. Let's go ahead and ditch these big rockets. Get a bit of power going. Yeah, should work. Okay. So, with using those for our particular way to get it into space, now the question is, how would we get it back down? I did not particularly design this for that yet. This could get interesting. Now, re-entry is not really something I've solved for this particular design. I mean, it'll come in roughly nose first if you let it, but once it gets down there, you want to flip it over so you can deploy the landing gear, but there's no real way to flip it because it's kind of top heavy. Not to mention your center of lift is way up here because, yeah, there's no room for wings. If we deploy the legs so we can see what we're working with. Entry, how do we solve re-entry? Thermal, let's see what we got. Could rock the giant heat shield. Problem is that's way too big for that. Okay then. This could be sketchy. I mean, last time I did this, I used the super rockets right here to do like a extreme burn, and I brought my speed down to a very low speed. That way I didn't like come slamming through the atmosphere like a couple thousand. I just did it like maybe 100, 180 and cut through the top like 20 or 30, and it actually worked. But if we ditch these in outer space and we only have these, we're gonna need a way to come in without blowing ourselves up. That's a good question. I did not think that part ahead. Is this thing scalable? Yes, it is. Hey, that should actually work. Okay. Now this is going to need a lot of parachutes, I'm pretty sure, considering this thing weighs in at 105. Oh. I've blown the budget on this thing by like 100 so far. Let's see. Parachutes. What do we have for parachutes? Not enough, really. Let's just go ahead and put a lot of these on. Pray for the best. We'll go 3 sets of these. A couple of these. Now see, the main problem I have is the legs are not separatable, so I can't like just blow off a decoupler and decouple this entire piece right here. If I could, that would save me a little bit of mass, but not really enough to make it worth doing. Okay, that should probably be enough parachutes. One can hope. We'll go ahead and give that a quick test fire and find out. If it is, we're good. If it isn't, well, we'll figure something else out. Okay. As always, we didn't set the action buttons again. Too busy testing and solving issues, I guess. Okay, that should be all of those. Let's get this thing up to a decent height. Okay, let's go ahead and push those. Well, I will say nonetheless, that was a pretty decent plane. I mean, I like a good SR-71 just because of the fact that it's pretty cool. It's sleek. It's got this like super high atmospheric operating, stuff like that. Does a lot of cool things. Gets the job done. They also are very well put together. I mean, I've never had one completely tear itself apart on me like, well, a lot of my other designs do. Let's see, we're probably gonna do this thing. Okay. Not enough, not enough, too much. Well, actually, just enough, actually. I'd say that's a success. It's under 12, so it shouldn't explode when it hits the water because this thing can only do, I think, 15. So assuming you have enough time to actually pull all the chutes, that should be enough. Okay. Now, I guess we need to get all the action groups put together and see if we can't get somewhere with this thing. Let's see. Action groups. Legs. There's no generators on this one, so let's go ahead and clear that. We'll call that ladders. Let's toggle those. Actually, there won't be nothing for this thing to operate with, actually, so let's go ahead and not bother with that. Actually, I won't even need this one. This one. Let's clear that. Go ahead and keep those on for possible effect. Save. Go ahead and use a disposable one for these because, yeah, I'm not going to flick these on every time I have to do this. Okay, let's see if we can't get this thing to the moon, hopefully. Okay, landing gear up, everything else ready to go. Stow the ladders. And here we go. Well, we should probably double check the moon's position first. to swing back around. Let's see where it is to mount. There it is. See if we can't brute force our way into where we need to go. With any luck, probably not. See if we can get this thing going fast enough, we should be able to just shoot relatively far out towards it. I don't want to go too fast because then we'll escape. But if we aim just right, we should be able to arc directly into its path. Too far. Too far. That's going to be a large course correction. See what we got coming on. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Yeah, that right there. Here comes the brute force part. Here's the target. Uh-oh. Lot of power. Let's go ahead and extend those because we need the power. Now, if we burn towards it, it should spec inwards. Okay, that's not good. Never was good at getting to the moon. I mean, I got there twice in stock, and both times I tragically collided into the side of it. Which I suppose was probably because I was going way too fast. direction. Let's go ahead and bring it around just a little more. Give it full power. See if we can't bring this thing back down. You know what? I just thought of something better. To save time, let's go ahead and just set the orbit at the moon. It'll get the job done. Set. Okay. Point this thing in the right direction. Let's loop the boosters. Engines down. Too much rotation. Now that'll do actually for now. Now if this thing can actually get there and land, then this will be a successful actual test, because then we can put the drill back on it, get here, do our thing, process it, and then jump to the next location as soon as it becomes relatively viable, I guess. Let's see, what do we want? We want radial inwards until it meets. I mean, yes, they're effective, but they're also slightly slower than bigger engines. I mean, this primarily is the real test behind this particular design, because it needs to be able to get where it needs to go, refill whatever gases it's used, and then turn around and do it again while getting to other locations. Should do it. Get us close enough anyways. I definitely should have put some RCS on this thing, now that I think about it. I'm going to slow down a bit before we get there, though. Okay, there's our touchdown right there. It's going to be on the dark side of the moon, but it'll do, because we have solar panels. Not going to work too well, but it'll work well enough. 550 might be too fast for these engines to stop. Then again, the ship is way too heavy for what I want it to do. But without the science section, it won't be feasible in the career, because then you can't make like all your stops and like process all the science at once. We might need to think of a way to get this thing to be smaller, just lighter. I mean, if all else fails, there is the Mark II cargo plane version, but considering a lot of my builds are usually with the Mark II parts, I wanted to try to branch out and use something different. So here we are, trying for something that's probably never been done for multiple reasons. Probably because it's not really a feasible design. Speaking of the SR-71, I just went to Matt's channel and he has a newer SR-71 video. It was uploaded 4 days ago. Might go watch that. Maybe even download the craft file if there is one and give that one a try. The last SR-71 I downloaded from his video was actually pretty effective also. This is going to take a long time. And I don't have that much more time before I slam into the side of the planet, do I? No, I don't. Well, safe to say this might be a fail. Epic fail, but it was worth a try. Keep those solar panels in the sun for as long as possible. Actually, we are slowing down pretty relatively quickly. So this might be a success. Never really tried using these nerve engines for anything more than just pushing the ship very long distances. So if this will actually land this heavy lander, I might have to give props to Matt for the design idea. And I mean, I have 3 of them, which is probably a bit more than needed. But then again, this actually might work now, considering that little tip. I was thinking just strap on 7 of those heavy-duty LBSI engines and brute forcing my way wherever I needed to go, but those things are heavy and use a lot of fuel. We're down relatively slow. actually work. Huh. Got about 10K to go and we're still slowing down. Let's see, got a bit of a twisting motion going on like usual whenever this thing goes to land. I don't know what it does, but it always likes to just twist around. Let's go ahead and give it a little less thrust. Not really. Guess, yeah, it does take full thrust to slow this thing down, so we'll go ahead and slow it down a little more. I mean, these legs are only rated for 12 to 15, so we will have to be going a lot slower than this. Also, I cannot see my landing site. So, we're going to have to hope that that's the actual ground level and pray that we can slow down in time. Okay, so it looks about like 70% will maintain speed. Let's go ahead and cut the thrust. Come in a little faster because this will take all day if we don't. We don't want to gain too much speed though, because then we will slam into the ground and this will have been all for nothing. Let's go ahead and slow that down just a little. Okay, about 2,000 meters. I don't know why I did not think of installing lights down here. Let's go ahead and retract the solar panels so they don't get broken. Dark side of the moon, how I hate thee. Okay, right about there should be good. Giving this probably about 45 seconds till touchdown. Probably at about the 300 mark, we'll go ahead and finish killing the relative velocity. Pray to God we land on a smooth spot. The last thing we need to do is break off a couple legs and not be able to get back into the air. And these things are extremely efficient. I don't know why I never used these before, really. I mean, burning at full thrust practically, they're only using basically 1 gallon of gas per engine per second. Apparently they got enough power to actually slow this beast of a ship down. At last check, this thing weighed about 105 tons. Considering I ditched the engines, we're probably still looking at about 92, I want to say. Crap, crap, crap. I did not see that coming so fast. Oh, there. Really? Up, touchdown, touchdown. Yay, it touched down. It's the light from the engines to see what we're doing. Haha. That actually worked. Let's go ahead and deploy the solar panels. Not that it's really going to help us. And get us some daytime going on so we can see where we landed and what we got going on. Spinning, 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 stop. That is not bad for a nighttime landing. Side of a mountain. Middle of nowhere. Those engines are pretty OP. Let's go ahead and deploy the ladders. Go ahead and toss Jeb out there real quick. Make sure the actual side ladders work. Like a charm. Let's go. Hippity hop, hip, and plant a flag. Plant flag. Ta-da! Okay, back in the ship, little buddy. Now see, this is why I never really use ladders, because really all you gotta do is just climb up, a little bit of RCS, and bop, boom, bam, there you go. Bob's your uncle. Bring those back in, give it some gas. Close that up. Close these up. Let's see, where are we? Set a target. Well, don't set a target one. But yeah, just slowly climb our way back into the atmosphere. Well, not really the atmosphere, but the orbital area of the moon. Make a path towards Earth / Kerbin and get back home. I will go ahead and end this stream here for today. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to come back tomorrow for more Kerbal Space Program and or Ghost Recons, depending on how we feel that day. Special thanks to Matt. His link will be in the description to his channel for anybody that wants to check it out. He does a lot of amazing things for Kerbal Space Program, so feel free to drop by his channel and check him out. Thanks.